But isn't
So,
that what's ruining the game industry right now? Why are you bringing politics into it, man?
my favorite video game is Final Fantasy VII, and I do not think that politics should be in video games.
Nice.
The irony is not lost upon many of us. Anywho. Welcome back to the Casket Minds podcast. I think we should address the elephant in the room at first. Drewby, it's been a very, very long time since we spoke on Casket Minds.
Yes, it has.
And although that games have changed, news has come and gone, and the industry at large has changed, our passion for gaming is not. And ultimately, that's what brings us back today. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, but we wanted to come back in the right way. For those of you watching and or listening, hopefully watching now, because we are a visual medium, Drewby and I have stepped the game up.
Yes.
And we hope that you go over to our YouTube, youtube.com/casketminds, and tune in for this one, because now that we're a visual medium, we're doing something pretty special. And we're also going to be doing a lot more content that isn't just the podcast. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really awesome. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one.
Yes.
But like I said, we are Casket Minds. We are back. We are here today to talk to you about some stuff in gaming. But before I do, I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Drew. Drewby, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling great. We just had, kind of the kickoff for Summer Game Fest a few months early with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. So that was pretty awesome. And I'm finally free to really dedicate time to content creation. Part of the reason why we took a hiatus was because I was in school full time. You are too, but you're kind of getting towards the end of that. And so it's just good to be back and getting into the swing of things. Video games are my first love. And, I do have a film discussion podcast. It's called Banter Fodder. We'll have it in the description below. And Mitch has been a guest on it several times. And so it just feels good to be talking about video games again, because this is my true passion,
I do know, Drewby. We were on a podcast of a friend of the show's, the Smashcast, presented by Ryan Ashley Wall. That's 3 hours long, discussing what we're going to be talking about here. But we're going to go a little ad nauseum here about more of the actual Direct itself, about Nintendo and the direction of Nintendo, the Switch 2, and everything surrounding it, including, unfortunately, some politics that we have to dive into, just due to the fact that that's how these things work nowadays in 2025, ladies and gentlemen.
But isn't that what's ruining the game industry right now? Why are you bringing politics into it, man?
My favorite video game is Final Fantasy VII, and I do not think that politics should be in video games.
Nice.
The irony is not lost upon many of us. Anywho, so today we're here to talk about mostly one thing. There's only a couple points that we have to bring up that aren't this. But today we're going to dive straight into what happened on this past Wednesday. We're recording on Saturday because we wanted to get through the tree houses. We wanted to get through and circumnavigate every piece of confusion and heart-aching price discrepancy that we can find. And not even, well, most of it's on Nintendo, but some of it's not. So we'll get into that. So we're going to start off with the topic of the show. This topic of the show is the Nintendo Switch 2. Drewby, are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this. I don't know if my wallet is. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I'm ready. Unfortunately, I don't think the world is ready.
That's true. We can tell that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But yeah, I had low expectations with the console And I'll say it again because I said it on Smashcast, but the reason why I had low expectations isn't because I have low expectations in Nintendo. Nintendo does great stuff, and even when they miss, they still do good things. So I wasn't as much worried about that, especially because I mean the Switch was a massive success. So it's not like they were gonna mess that up again. But I had low expectations because the Switch was so far behind in terms of hardware that I was worried we weren't going to get a big step up, especially because it's called the Switch 2, which is the first time Nintendo's done like a direct sequel to a console that's like numbered like that. So I was a little worried it was just going to be a little bit of like a half step up, but I was blown away by the direct. I think most people were. Um, just seeing the hardware be a massive improvement, more so than I was ever expecting, or even thinking was possible for the Switch 2. And there's a lot of great games coming out at launch and quickly after that have me just pumped for getting my hands on this thing.
No, I'm right there with you. Which you bring up a good point. I think that we should talk about what we thought about the Switch 2 being not even like the spiritual successor like the Wii U was, but it's straight up the sequel. It's the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2. And I think at first I was a little disappointed because I was really rooting for the Super Switch. I think that name is goated. And I still think it should be called that, but I'm fine with it being called the Switch 2, considering everything that it is. It's just a bulkier, more powerful Switch, and honestly, that's totally fine with me because I love my Switch, and I have the OLED version, so I love playing in handheld. I'm a little disappointed there's no OLED, but we'll get into that in a little bit. As far as my expectations, though, I think that from the direct standpoint, I would give this direct probably 5 out of 5 in terms of actual content that's in the direct. I was absolutely floored by a few of these announcements. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, Drewby, I want to go into the hardware. I want to talk about what we're actually going to be playing, what we're going to be playing on, and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So starting off, we didn't get this in the direct, which is exactly why we didn't record the day of the direct. I think it took an hour or so after the direct actually came out that we finally got the price through media and press emails. So we sat there for an hour. This was an hour-long direct, and we didn't get the price of it. But we do know what it is now. Well, asterisks. We think it's going to be $450. And another reason why we waited to record this is due to the fact that that price may and probably will go up. There's a strong rumor circulating the world of rumors and speculation that Nintendo moved its production out of China to Vietnam and I think Taiwan to circumnavigate the tariffs that President Trump has enforced on everyone. And the day of the direct, Trump signed a 46% tariff tax on both of those countries. And what that means for us is that April 9th was originally going to be our pre-order dates for the Switch 2. And unfortunately, those have now dissipated. There is no clear or concise date to pre-order this. We do not know if the $450 is actually going to stand, which is depressing, given that it's $450 American dollars, and that's a lot of money in 2025 to be asking for people. And though I think that the price is justified, at least for the hardware, going up is going to be hard on families, and it's going to be interesting to see how well this thing sells. I think it'll sell vastly. I think it'll move units, but we're talking about potential $100 plus easily with the tariffs. They did say that June 5th date has not been moved, but we'll see, because that's a steep hill to climb. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, especially with, like you're saying, the content of the direct is great, easily 5 out of 5. And so, you know, I'm like, man, I want to pre-order this thing. I want to get my hands on it day one. And now that might not happen for several reasons. Not just because we may not actually be getting it in the US in June, but we may not be getting it at the $450 price tag, which is just ridiculous. And it's like, you know, these tariffs have affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And now, like, this is like the cherry on top. It's like, okay, now it's affecting games. And that sucks, because that's one thing that is really holding up a lot of people right now. You got games, movies, TV shows. When stuff is going down in the world and they just want a little bit of escape, that's what they go to. And the fact that, you know, people may not even be able to have that because these prices are going to be insane, or because they're going to get delayed, that's really frustrating. And it'll suck even more when, you know, we're used to having consoles launch day one in the US. And when other countries are going to be getting them before we do, like, I already know a lot of people are going to be really upset about that.
Oh yeah.
So it's all a huge mess. And it sucks that, you know, we're facing the negative impacts of this even in gaming too. It's like nothing is safe, nothing is sacred, you know.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I think you were alluding to it, but obviously there's bigger things in the world right now than just gaming. Obviously, these tariffs are gonna be huge on literally every facet of our life. But fortunately, I guess for us, this is a video game podcast, so we're going to talk about the video game portion.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for Drew when I say that video games are our escape through childhood. Like, video games got me through so many really bad and really rough spots. So even today, like, just not wanting to deal with something in school or work or, you know, whatever it may be, if I just want to turn off my brain and play a little roguelike or something, play Rocket League, like, games can do a million different things. And to be priced out of a hobby due to ridiculous like politics, it's frustrating beyond belief. But we had to address that, because obviously these tariffs are awful. They are obviously causing problems with not just Nintendo, but everywhere. Before we started recording this, I was on Twitter just scrolling, and there are protests outside of the Nintendo event in, I believe it's New York, but there's like a massive protest going outside of that. So unfortunately, it's just a thing that we're going to have to circumnavigate ourselves, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pre-orders are on hold. The next time that we speak, which should be next week, hopefully we have some kind of news, or hopefully we've already got our Switches pre-ordered, because if they're coming to the United States, I need one.
Yeah.
This thing was sold to me. I mean, I was going to get it regardless. Let's be honest. I have a
100%.
PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm the audience for an upgrade of any kind. I want the bells and the whistles. I want the HDR. I want all the goodies. But yeah, this direct was absolutely fantastic, and we're going to dive into everything. But I don't want to go there just yet. I want to keep talking a little bit more about the hardware. So this thing has two modes. You got the handheld, and you have the dock. In handheld and on the dock, actually, you can do 1080p and 120 hertz FPS. So the screen is 120 hertz. You can do 120 FPS if your TV can do it. I believe it is confirmed that Metroid Prime is both 4K 60 and 1080 120. I was listening to a few impressions, and I was listening to Kind of Funny, and Tim was saying that the 120 hertz display they were playing on for Metroid was smooth as butter, and that got me pumped.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And then 4K 60 docked, which I would have put money on that we were not getting 4K
Oh
and
yeah.
we weren't getting 60 docked. What was your reaction when we found that out?
I was blown away, honestly. And especially because if you look at a lot of the current hardware right now, like the PS5 and the Series X, not every game takes advantage of that.
It's true.
And so to see Nintendo like really step up their game and be like, hey, we're doing this. We're also going to have a cooling fan in the dock. So you won't have issues and it can actually hit these targets. I think that's incredible. And, you know, we'll see where like third party games go with this. I don't think every third party developer is going to take advantage of that. But I do think that for first party games, Nintendo is going to take full advantage of that hardware. And we're already seeing that with Metroid Prime. We're seeing the upgrades that we're getting for both Zelda games. We're also going to be getting what looked like really smooth frame rates and I think 4K for Mario Kart. So, and I'm assuming Donkey Kong will be the same way. So I can't wait to see them taking full advantage of this hardware. I think for me, I'm always frame rate over graphics over resolution. I want my games to run smooth so I have an enjoyable experience playing them. And I think it's just cool that we have options now. We saw that it can even go in 1440p. And if we see devs taking advantage of that, especially the first party games, that's going to be massive. And you know, having the ability to go up to 120 FPS, even while it's undocked and in your hands, that's insane. That is insane. Nasty work, but I love it. I love having options like that. And it gets me so excited to think of all the possibilities. But the fact that we do have these visual upgrades means that we're going to finally be getting these signature art styles that Nintendo's known for, these gorgeous looking games, but they're going to look even better, not just by a little bit, but some of these games are going to be some of the best looking games we're going to get out there because their art direction is so strong. And that has me absolutely excited. I can't wait to see what they're cooking with the next like 3D Mario, which we'll get into that in a little while, but my brain is just trying to wrap around all the possibilities. And then we also recently got news that it's going to be taking advantage of the DLSS that NVIDIA has. And that means there's potential for ray tracing. They already confirmed that. So it's like they really went all out with this. They're like, you know what? It may not be as strong as the PS5. It may not be as strong as the Series X. But when we get to that next console generation, we're not going to be super far behind anymore. We're going to be able to actually have games that come out on those consoles too. That is exciting.
Yes, I agree. You teed me up perfectly because the next point that I wanted to make was that not only can this do, the 1080 120, the 4K 60, it also has HDR for the first time for a Nintendo product.
Yes.
Just that alone, I expected HDR to be there, but the fact that this thing can hit 4K and it has the 1440 option is massive. If they can't optimize their games for the 4K, they can hit 1440 60, throw HDR on that thing, and that thing is going to look magnificent. Even if the Zelda games, which you alluded to earlier, if they were hitting 1440 60, that is totally fine because the way that the art style is created is magnificent enough. But when you throw HDR and have all this lighting through the grass and the textures, it's going to look so good. And in terms of like the only thing that this thing is missing in terms of a premium quality handheld is the OLED screen. That's the only thing that's holding it back from top tierness. But I've heard nothing but praise for the LCD screen.
Yeah.
And I've heard it compared to the PlayStation Portal, which I own, and which I like, but I don't like the streamingness of it. It's actually better paired with the Pro, but still not great. I'll always prefer the natively downloaded games. Way to go! But
Yeah.
the one thing that I can give the Portal is that screen is the closest to OLED that I've ever seen in my life, and it's pristine. It looks so good.
Yeah.
So though it's missing OLED, I'm fine with that because the screen
And I
appears to be.
think having HDR on the handheld mode, it like goes a long way. I think that's part of the reason why it probably looks so good. So yeah, that's exciting because like I do enjoy playing my Switch on handheld, but I like having the ability to dock it. I'm
Yeah.
always My favorite way to play games is sitting down, controller in my hands, and it's exciting that I can do this and really be taking advantage of the console. It's only going to make, having the big like parties of friends coming over playing locally, those sessions are going to be even better because it's going to look and feel amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that, especially when Jimmy Jam, Walker, Texas Ranger Man comes to North Carolina later this year. It's going to be our Mario parties are going to be so good.
Mario Kart going to go crazy.
Re-roaming? Oh my god, we'll get there.
We will.
We're not quite done with hardware yet. So next up, we're going to talk about the multi-theoried, faceted C button, and obviously this is our first episode back, so we really didn't get to theorize on it on the pod, but we've talked about this for hours on end in our group chats with our friends and whatnot, and no one that I've seen on the internet in general ever thought that the C button was going to be what the C button was. But I'm not going to lie, Drewby, I kind of love it.
Yeah.
So the C button is a chat button. And what that does is when you click the button, it's going to bring up the chat menu, and you're going to quickly be able to chat with your friends in terms of like voice chat. There's a built-in microphone to the Switch now, which they say is a lot better than it's actually going to be. It says that it can do like the noise canceling from like 6 feet away. There's not a shot that thing does that. I admire the boldness to claim that, but
yeah,
after what Nvidia did to us early this year, I ain't buying it. But yeah, what do you think about the chat functionality?
Yeah, again, I would have never guessed in a million years that was what it was going to be. I'm going to make the same joke that I made on Smashcast. It should have been a copyright button. Just copyright strike anything that is using Nintendo music or gameplay footage on YouTube, Twitch, whatever. No, but I think it's great. Being able to quickly pull up the chat while you're still in the game, keep in mind, it's not going to pull you out of the game. It's just going to be a little bar that pops up on your screen to pull up the chat, to be able to hop in voice chats with your friends. And even they have the camera functionality now, which crazy, very bold Nintendo.
Crazy
Especially
work.
for that Splatoon fan base. Gosh.
It's going to go south real quick.
Yeah. But I think it's wonderful. Nintendo has needed a chat system. I hope that this doesn't mean that we're never going to get Discord functionality. I highly doubt that. I gotta say, like, with all of the other consoles implementing Discord, I don't think it's going to take away from Nintendo's chat functionality. People are still going to use that because a lot of people don't know how to use Discord. But I think if we can get that implementation, that would be great. But having the option to be able to hop in a chat with my friends through the Switch and hopefully not be bad, that's exciting. Nintendo's needed that for a very, very, very long time, especially with Splatoon and like some of their like first party multiplayer games like Smash and Mario Kart, Mario Party. I can't believe it took them this long, but I'm okay. I'm okay with that because they actually put a lot of intention behind this. It seems like it was very, very well thought out, and they wanted to get it right. So it took them a long time, but I appreciate that they're actually here. And I hope that the Nintendo Switch Online functionality is even better on the Switch 2. Like, I'm assuming it will be, but if it holds up, then I think this chat functionality is going to be a game changer for sure.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't mention that's with this chat functionality is that you can actually screen share where you are in a game. So it's basically like streaming to your friends. And this is a thing that is in Discord. So if you've used Discord, or if you're familiar with the PC landscape, you know that you can stream your game to your friends. In the direct, it looked awful, but it was also 4 to 5 people streaming each game to themselves over Wi-Fi because it was in handheld mode.
While they had their cameras on.
Yeah, and
on top of
it's
that,
like
too.
it's like no one's gonna use this in practice. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna use that. Like 4 friends aren't gonna show them like their screens to each other, so that's gonna create native lag anyways. So I'm curious to see how it is when like only one person is doing it, and obviously I think it's obviously going to be depending on the internet of the person streaming and receiving the stream. But I think, and I said this on the Smashcast as well, and we're not expecting you guys to go listen to Smashcast, but you need to head over to your streaming service or your podcast service of choice and look up the Super Smashcast, which is hosted by one of our dear friends, Ryan, where he goes through and plays each game for each fighter in Super Smash Bros. And it's such an awesome concept. Thank you again, Ryan, for having us. We had a blast. We have so many more inside jokes now.
Yes.
But one thing that I said there is that the fact that the Switch can do this at all, I think showcases that they've really worked on their online infrastructure. Having a chat ability is a decade plus late, probably 2 decades late at this point, to be honest. But the fact that it's here is good. I almost didn't expect it. I almost expected them to call it, or just to get Discord and call it a day. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad that they do have a native way to do it. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends do not have that are stuck on console, don't have Discord or don't bother using Discord. So I'll have to use like PlayStation's or Xbox's party system, and I'm like, man, I just don't want to do that. Discord's quality is so much better. Let's just do it. It is what it is. But I'm hoping that Discord does come one day. I think that the fact that they're everywhere but the Switch right now is a good indicator that they could be. And so fingers crossed for that. I really do hope that Discord comes eventually.
For sure.
So now that we got the C button out of the way, Drewby, let's talk about the Joy-Con itself. What should have been the clap is still the snap, but the Joy-Con 2 is magnetic this go around.
Yes.
You had the Switch Lite, correct?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so I am very happy about the magnetic Joy-Cons this time, because the snapping in and out of the Joy-Cons, it was satisfying at first, but once you do it enough, and I have like a tick where I need to like press something or like press buttons or something, just like even when I'm just like idle. I don't know, it's weird, but eventually like the Joy-Con just gets super loose, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And it might still be a problem for the Joy-Con too, but that's my problem, I guess, not Nintendo's. But one thing I do like about the Joy-Con is that it's much bigger this time around. It's like a time and a half bigger. I think they went from like 6.1 inch to 7.9 inches or something. Yeah. I don't know why Nintendo doesn't just do solid numbers, but it's Nintendo, so what do we expect? But basically 6 inches to 8 inches. It's much larger. It's more akin to a Steam Deck now than it is a base original Switch, which is fantastic. I don't know if you've held a Steam Deck before.
I haven't, no.
It's fantastic. A friend of the show came over for the Super Bowl, and he brought his OLED Steam Deck and let me play a little bit of it, and man, that thing feels good. So I like the heft of it, and I think that the Switch should feel a little bit more hefty given the size.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping for that. But I don't know. Do you enjoy the ergonomic shape of the original Switch?
So I actually didn't mind how the Switch handled and the Joy Cons, but I definitely think that there's ways that it could have been improved for sure. Um, and I mean, when the Switch first came out, I was working at GameStop, and
Mm.
the amount of Joy Cons that we got in that were like, oh, I've got stick drift, they're broken.
Ooh.
All of the time, people buying new controllers or used controllers all the time because of that. Um, it having magnetic joysticks is going to go a long way for it. But I also just love the look of the new Joy Cons. They look really sleek. I like the black with the red and blue, or the orange and blue accents.
Mhm.
And I also think that just in terms of the way it looks like it's going to feel more comfortable in anyone's hand. It looks like it's going to be more sturdy, not just with the joysticks, but with the controller as a whole. So that's really exciting. And then, to segue a little bit, I think that all of the functionalities that we're getting with the console itself, like the new stand, looks great.
Mhm.
And I just think that they really, again, are listening to things that people have critiqued for years, and really took that into notice, and we're like, hey, we hear all of your complaints, and we're gonna fix that, and not just by a little bit, but like we're gonna go the extra mile with some stuff. So I think that this console is gonna feel great when you get it in hand. And I've already seen a lot of people talking about it online, just saying how great it feels to use it. I mean, you said that a lot of people are saying the screen itself looks great, but like in terms of the controllers, I've heard a lot of positive things. Um, Even with the Pro controller and everything, which that also looks great. I love that they're having. I never had a Pro controller when I had my Switch. I had the original Switch, and then I got rid of it because I was dumb and I shouldn't have done that. And then I ended up getting a Switch Lite during COVID. And uh, yeah, huge regret on getting rid of it. But I never got to use the Pro controller. But if I still had my original Switch, I would have definitely gotten one. And I think that, again, just seems like they're taking all of the things that, the Pro controller was well received, but they're like, hey, how can we design this to be even better? Adding the paddles on it. That's huge. Like, people playing Fortnite, people playing what's probably going to be the next Call of Duty,
Mhm.
people playing all these other third-party titles that or even like the next Splatoon game, you're going to have those functionalities with the paddles, and you're going to see a lot more competitive play on the Switch,
Oh
which
yeah.
is really exciting because, if you're playing crossplay on games like Fortnite, you're stomping people playing on Switch because they don't have the same kind of hardware that we have on every other console and on PC. So again, it's not that they're improving on things, but they're taking that extra step and being like, hey, we're future proofing this, and we're making sure that all of our hardware is going to compete with everything else right now.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of the Pro controller, I'm a huge advocate for the original Pro controller, and the fact that it seems like they just continuously upgrade it. They have an audio jack at the bottom of the Pro controller now, and they also have the back paddles, as you alluded to earlier. Um, and as a now slash new Pro controller connoisseur, I am very happy that they added to the Nintendo Pro controller. It was late last year, I think October, November, something like that. I got both the Series X and the PS5's the Dual Sin. No, hold on. Do you know what it's called? Dual. Why am I?
I
It's
can't
not
I
Dual
can't
Shock.
remember. No.
DualSense Edge is what it's called.
Yeah.
And then the Elite controller from Xbox. And I can't go back to normal controllers anymore. Even using like the Pro controller for the Switch, which I've been playing a lot of Smash because we were on Smashcast, but the back paddles not being there, man, is like it doesn't feel. It feels empty now. I'm like, I need it. I need it. That's my number one wish list for an accessory for this thing was the Pro controller with the back paddles. And it's not like the existing version of the back paddles. It seems like if you guys know anything about the back of the controller, there's like it like sticks out a little bit, but this one looks like it just like clicks in at the back. I've heard from the hands-on previews that it's really, really good, and that gives me hope because that's all I want out of the Pro controller. I think the Switch Pro controller is perfect until I started playing the Pros, but now that they're adding the Pro functionality, it's like it's perfect.
And it's great that we're going to be, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Pro controller released with the console when it first came out.
I don't believe so. No,
it was at least I feel like a year later. So the fact that we're getting this at launch with the console, and on top of that, it's like, why buy a third-party controller when you have all the features that you need from Nintendo's first-party stuff? And so that's going to only make the third-party accessories even more competitive because they're like, oh, well, okay, Nintendo's already doing all of this. How could we take it a step further? So that has me really excited because it's just again going to create a lot of options for the console.
Yeah, and I think that both the last two things you said hit the nail on the head of like now there's going to be more third-party development because of how much they're supporting third-party and how much third-party is supporting this. Like there's so many more options, and when you have Call of Duty, Cyberpunk, Elden Ring coming to your console, people are going to start paying more attention to your console. Nintendo, especially the last decade plus, probably since the Wii, hasn't gotten traditional third-party support. And we have games like Borderlands, Split Fiction, Civ 7 are all coming to Switch day one, which is insane to think about.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Civ 7, I think this will be a good way to transition into this. We've got mouse functionality with the Joy-Cons now, which is crazy. We knew it was coming, or at least we thought so, just based on rumors and then the initial like reveal of the Switch. It seemed like there was going to be mouse functionality. We didn't know what that was going to look like, but you'll be able to play strategy games. You'll be able to play first-person shooters like Metroid with the mouse support, which is huge. Like you don't have first-party mouses for PlayStation and Xbox. Like that's something that you'd have to get third-party. So that's another reason why it's like, okay, well, we're taking this a step above the other consoles right now, which is just really cool. Like who would have thought that they would have done that?
Not us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the mouse functionality is probably the most intriguing thing about this. And if there was a gimmick for the Switch 2, this would be it. But they're not treating it like a gimmick. No. From everything that I've seen and read, it's you put the Joy-Con sideways and you put it on the surface, and that's the mouse. It's like perfect. And then when you pick it up and put it back in like the ordinary position, like upright, it turns back into the controller. And I believe I was watching Kind of Funny, so I'll give them credit again. They were playing Metroid and they did that, and it was perfect. And I was like, did they really like implement this mouse functionality to where like you can try it if you want to, and then immediately if it's not your thing, you don't even have to like pause, you don't have to do any, you don't have to click a button. It's just You pick it up and you play. And I think that's going to be massive for a lot of players because there's a lot of people that are turned off by mouse and keyboard, and the fact that like you can just do it seamlessly on the Switch 2 is like it's there if you want it, and it's there if you don't want it. Like I think it's the best of both worlds.
And the fact that it seems like it's like, running really well already.
Yeah.
Like that's great. It wasn't like a thing of like, oh, we're just doing this to try it. Like they actually did it with real thought and intention and executed it well, that's awesome. Because we've had things in the past where Nintendo had a gimmicky kind of aspect to their console, and it wasn't the best idea. But this is, again, a game changer in the console space. It's gonna go a long way for a lot of people. I think this console, just, if I had one word to describe it, options. That's what it is. Like, and we don't have that with, honestly, I can't say that we have that with the Series X or the PlayStation. Those are straightforward. They do what they do, but this has handheld. This has the mouse support, all these other functionalities, and that's exciting.
Agreed. I think that this is already getting the comparisons to the Steam Deck, and with the tariff news and all that kind of stuff, everyone's pointing to like the LCD version of the Switch, or not the Switch, but the Steam Deck, and saying like, hey, this is your better option. You can play Steam games. You're not limited to $60 things. You don't have to pay for Switch Online. And it's like, yeah, but you're not getting the same thing out of the Steam Deck that you're getting out of the Switch. I think the Switch 2 is the most versatile console, hybrid, handheld, whatever you want to call it, on the market when it hits. The fact that it comes with the dock that does 4K 60, 120 FPS with 1080, maybe even eventually bumping that up to OLED 1440 someday, because that could be their next half step iteration, which would be fantastic. You're getting the first party support of Nintendo, which without piracy and emulating, you're not getting that with the Steam Deck. And even then, it's not nearly the same as Nintendo's clear cut, like shine and polish that you're going to get from an actual Nintendo product. I think that this is utterly fantastic, and it's a shame that the Direct was so good and that everything after was immediately dumpster fire, which we'll get to. I just want to hit a few more points before we get there. And those few points are that this one is launching with 256 gigabytes of internal storage, and it can only accept micro SD Express only. So what that means is you likely do not have that in your Switch right now, which means that you're going to have to upgrade that. Prices aren't awful unless you get into the couple terabytes, which for the Switch, you're not going to need a couple terabytes for a good little bit. But if you're wanting to play third-party stuff, you might. And this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we've already name dropped it. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be, the Ultimate Edition is going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2. The game and the DLC is on the cart, and that cart is 64 gigabytes. So that's a fourth of your internal storage right there. So if you're going to be doing like third-party stuff, obviously you're going to need the bump up into the internal storage. But at the same time, if you're a gamer who is going to be playing third party on this thing, you're spending more money on third party that you probably already played, or you're just curious. It's not going to be that painful to your wallet, in my opinion. So I think that pretty much hits the nail on the head for the internal storage and the storage things. Which brings me to my very last point for the hardware. Well, I guess this is technically software, but it's hardware that's software that's on the hardware in day one, which is very impressive to me. And that is that GameCube is coming to Nintendo Switch Online day freaking one. Let's go. We won. I believe it's launching with 3 games. It's the F-Zero game that everyone loves on the GameCube. I forget the name because the F-Zero games are not my thing, and they always have weird names, in my opinion. And then, now I'm also blanking on the second game that's on there. But I know that the big one is Wind Waker. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker is going to be on their day one. Why can I not remember the second game? Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
I can't remember it off the top of my head either. We're a terrible podcast.
Yeah. Jimmy is going to have a fit right now.
Oh, yeah.
But I was listening to something earlier, and Mario Strikers was playable at the event, but it was in the real of like coming later to Nintendo Switch. So I'm wondering if that's like a first month, like it comes out, it's a month, like, all right, here's Mario Strikers.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the GameCube on the Nintendo Switch too?
Dude, absolutely. I never had a GameCube, but way back in the day, I had a friend who did, and I played a lot of games on it. Played Wind Waker, played Luigi's Mansion, played Mario Sunshine, which is my favorite Mario game.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So yeah, like I'm excited to be able to play a lot of these GameCube games that I did play as a kid and loved, or a lot of the ones that I never got the chance to play. Like I didn't get to beat Wind Waker because I didn't have a GameCube. I didn't get to beat like some of the other games. And then, you know, like it would be really cool if we'd get the Metal Gear Solid that's on GameCube. If we got the Resident Evil that's on GameCube, like stuff like that. I'm curious if Nintendo is going to go that extra mile. They may not, but that would be awesome if they did.
Yeah, I suspect they'll probably only do first party stuff, but it would be really cool if they added the third party, like something like Resident Evil 4 that's so intrinsically tied to the GameCube.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like a slam dunk. I don't feel like you're like eating your own lunch whenever, like, because you can buy the current port of Resident Evil 4 on the Switch now, but it's like, nah, just give me the original GameCube 4.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, give me that.
yeah. And I will say they had Capcom show up during the showcase with one. We'll get into it in a little while, with one of their recent like massive games. So the fact that it's running on the Switch too, that only leads me to believe that we're going to be getting all of their major games on the Switch too. We can see the newer versions of the Resident Evils on there, which is really cool.
And honestly, the newest one might even launch on the Nintendo Switch, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're not super demanding games despite looking fantastic. Because if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, Resident Evil 8 was like, or Village was one of the like pinnacle, like you could play this on an iPhone 15.
Yeah.
And there was like, there's another one that maybe is Mac OS or something like that. I know Resident Evil is like one of the first games to like actually work natively on Mac OS for Steam.
Yeah.
So they're no stranger to trying new things.
Yeah.
So that's actually very exciting. I really hope that Resident Evil 4 comes.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm gonna use that to pivot into the accessories. We're just gonna give you a quick list of what they are, how much they cost, because if you're listening to this, you're probably wondering that. And hopefully, if they add Resident Evil 4, you'll be able to buy a new GameCube controller. I believe the price is $65. I didn't write that down, but now that we were talking about the GameCube, I was like, you know what? They did make a new one for the Switch too. It looks a lot cleaner than the original. I have the original. Actually, I have it right here on my desk. Right here.
Heck yeah.
It's nice. So the difference is that these buttons right here are all on the top with the C button now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does have the C button.
It does have the C button,
which is wild.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get another one just because the newest thing, and it doesn't hurt to have two GameCube controllers.
Exactly.
So me and Jax will probably boot that up and we'll play something. Probably Mario Kart, to be honest. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. They can have the GameCube Mario Kart. They've done it for the other ones, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Even though why would they not list that in this is a real. Anyways, not important. It'll probably come eventually, and that'll be exciting. The Pro controller that we've talked pretty at length about, to be honest, more than I was expecting. But I am a Pro controller lover here. That's $80, which is a $10 price hike on the Switch, which makes sense. It's the same Pro controller with more bells and whistles. It got an aesthetic upgrade as well, which you'll see. The Joy-Con 2, I believe the Joy-Cons now are also $80, so everything's probably just getting a $10 price hike. You got the if you're going to get a new set or another set of Joy-Cons, it's going to cost you $90. The dock, if you need an extra one, if you want to carry it with you, if you're someone who travels a lot, That's going to cost you $110. Joy-Con 2 charging grip. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's the thing that comes with the Switch that you just plug in like a normal controller. It's like a fake Pro controller essentially, but you're using the Joy-Cons to like slide into the thing and it charges your stuff. Which honestly, I haven't used it in so long that when I was looking at the accessories earlier, I was like, wait, it charges it? That's cool. I just haven't used it in so long that I'm dumbfounded by it.
Yeah.
It's like such a pro consumer thing to like charge your thing while you play it. It's like, what? How's this Nintendo? So that's $35 if you need a second one. I mean, if you have 2 sets of Joy-Cons, just get one of that. I mean, it charges it, it plays it. If you don't want the Pro controller, that's the way to go. I think it's a little cheaper. Well, I guess not if you do the second pair of Joy-Cons. But I feel like if you're getting the second pair of Joy-Cons anyway, you're not in the Pro controller market anyways.
Probably.
Unless like it's like a special edition. Because the only set of Joy-Cons that I bought that weren't the traditional Joy-Cons was I got a Legend of Zelda pair that were really, really cool.
Yeah.
It was the Skyward Sword ones, I believe, when they did that re-release for the Switch.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And they're like the purple ones with all the Hyrule stuff, really beautiful.
Yeah.
You got 2 carrying cases. You have the traditional one that, the hard shell case that goes over the Switch, $35, and then your all-in-one carrying case, which is $80. Which I'm not gonna lie to you, Drew. We went on vacation last year with a couple of friends of the pod, and I'll shout out Omar. He brought his Switch in the all-in-one case, and he whipped that thing out, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And he popped it open. He was like, "Check this out." And I was, dude, that thing is classy. I'm not even gonna lie. So like, if I do some traveling over the next couple of years, I'm gonna get me an all-in-one carrying case because that thing it's sturdy. It's actually like kind of aesthetically pleasing, giving like Nintendo. I don't know, dude. Pretty cool. And the last accessory, which we didn't talk about you talked about it a little bit, but like I feel like we didn't talk about it enough. I guess this would be the gimmick if there was a gimmick, at least hardware wise, and that's the camera.
Yeah.
It's not included with the Switch. It's a $50 charge. It's a USB-C camera that you plug into the top of your. Maybe you can do the bottom. I actually don't know if they did because they didn't showcase it at the bottom.
They didn't. But I'm assuming you will be able to plug it in either way.
Yeah, it's USB-C, right? Like it should work either way. But I guess the idea would be that if you're using the stand, that you would want it at the top.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, we went down a kind of weird rabbit hole right there. The camera, obviously, it's a camera, and there's implementations in some games where your face will be on the screen. And if you're using the chat functionality, the good old C button that isn't for casting or there was one other one that just like controller mode, so like switching between the mouse and the controller. That was one of the things. It's weird. I don't think many people are going to do it, but again, we're gonna shout out the Smash Cast because Ryan had a fantastic idea of having that be your face be like the kill cam for Call of Duty when that launches on the Switch. And that is a brilliant, brilliant idea.
That needs to happen.
Even if it's like Splatoon only, like I need to see that. I wonder if they didn't show that implementation on Mario Kart World, but I do wonder if you'll be able to do like something like that, like maybe like above your car or something. Maybe
that would be really cool. Yeah,
I think
there's a lot of room for potential for them to do something gimmicky with it, and I think if they do that. If it's not just for the chat and they implement the camera into games in some way, I think that people will buy it. Because, I mean, if you think about it, $50 for a webcam, not bad at all. Like, it could be a lot worse, especially with the pricing of other stuff. So, not terrible. So, I can see people getting it. It's going to be gimmicky. And I don't really see it being a thing that is a console seller by any means, unless they're like, hey, you can use it for kill cams.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of like meta stuff that like they could do. I don't know if they will, and I don't think it'll be a success ultimately, but I do admire that Nintendo will always be Nintendo and try to swing for the fences on everything that they do.
Yes.
Or at least mostly everything that they do. Because like a camera in 2025 is such a silly thing. And I'm sure that they thought this was a better idea when they were coming up with it when COVID was a thing.
Yeah.
And like massively, everyone was at home. Obviously, we saw that trend with like live service games. But the camera functionality seems like a COVID thing that unfortunately the Switch just kept getting fake delayed because we never really got any. Like, we always kept hearing rumors and rumors. I feel like even when we started Casket Minds, we were talking about, like, oh, yeah, like, we could hear any news about the Switch 2 someday or the successor or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably it. But, yeah, dude, if they implement, like, just the, like, not even kill cams, just something, like, super zany or silly, you know that it'll catch on and, like, become, like, a meme or something. Like,
yeah.
If Nintendo lets it happen, it'll be fantastic. But again, the copyright button might be pressed way too many times.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all that we have to say about the accessories and the hardware. But now we get to something that's probably the most exciting portion of this, unless you're a nerd like me who loves hardware. And we didn't even get into all the details, but that's because you probably do not care about all the nerdy things like I do. That's why also Digital Foundry exists. So shout out Digital Foundry. If you care about the nerdy stuff, go to their YouTube channel. They do fantastic work. They don't need my shout out, but well, whatever. I'm a enjoyer.
We're great friends of Digital Foundry, you know. Yeah.
They're gonna hear this and be like, "Who the heck are these guys?"
Yeah.
And then they'll just befriend Jimmy Jam, and he'll go off and play Metal Gear Solid 6 or something. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Gosh, yeah.
So, do you want to start with first party or do you want to start with third party?
Let's start off with the third party.
All right, let's start with third party.
We'll save the best for last, you know.
All right. So, yeah, I agree. Let's do third party because I do think ultimately it's the least interesting. Just because I think that their first party offerings are very, very strong.
Yeah.
And I think we have more to say about those. So let's go through this. So we're not going to do this in the way that it was presented in the direct. We're going to read these and make comments on the ones that we think are significant. And we're going to do it in two categories. We're going to do it in what's going to launch on the Nintendo Switch when that does happen. And if that is June 5th, then all of these games will be available from June 5th until I clarify otherwise. Split Fiction, which... at the time of release, or at least if it holds the June 5th release date, Split Fiction will be 3 months old, which means that it's ultimately basically launching, soft launching on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Drew and I are actually playing through Hazelight's gameography. Is that the correct term?
I guess
the filmography of games, I guess. We're going through their catalog and we're playing it. We're on we're probably like 70-80% through It Takes Two right now, and man, what a fantastic game.
Incredible.
We might actually make some content out of Split Fiction, so
that would be awesome.
Stick around. We might do that because I feel like that would be really fun for us to do. Next up is Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. That's going to launch at $70. Despite it getting some price slashes in other storefronts across other consoles. Don't be surprised by that. It's a Nintendo tax / new game tax technically it's a different SKU for them. But I want to shout something out real quick because I think this is really important for Cyberpunk itself. So I'm not sure exactly who said it to who, but Kind of Funny mentioned that a dev talked to them and said that it took 7 weeks to get this port up and running on the Nintendo Switch. And very well, because Blessing Adeoye Jr. Was saying that he played a mission of it, and it was really, really good. Especially for, the handheld, which I think they had to play it in handheld mode.
Yeah.
And other people have reported that this runs better on the Nintendo Switch 2 than it does the Steam Deck, which I find baffling and exciting. Yes. Because if a huge, massive open world game like Cyberpunk 2077 can run on the Switch and run well enough to work like not just like fundamentally work, but like work on like a almost like a psychological level for like gamers. Like that's huge, dude.
Yeah.
Like the game barely worked when it came out.
Yeah.
And now
No,
it's running on a
crazy
Nintendo Switch.
what a run it's had. And also, I want to shout this out real quick while we're talking about this, and because we just talked about, gosh, Split Fiction. Cyberpunk runs on CD Projekt Red's internal engine that they had. I can't remember what it was called. But for all of their upcoming releases, they're switching to Unreal Engine 5.
Good shout.
Split Fiction is Unreal Engine 5. And we're getting Fortnite. And so that also is a really telltale sign that, hey, we've got a massive game like Cyberpunk coming to the Switch. And by the way, that's on the internal engine that CD Projekt Red uses, and they got it running in 7 weeks. And it's already proven that Switch is already optimized to run stuff on Unreal Engine 5. So that's incredibly exciting that we're going to be getting these heavy hitter games on the Switch 2 as well. Maybe we'll even see GTA 6 on the Switch 2 at some point.
I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see about GTA 6. Maybe we'll go GTA 5 first because it never got a Switch port. So
true.
And that needs to be on, I feel like, every console ever. It's up there with Skyrim and Final Fantasy 7. Maybe Chrono Trigger as like, you know what? New thing? Here's your game, baby.
Yeah.
New fridge? Let's play.
Yeah.
That I'll never forget that Skyrim ad of the fridge.
Incredible.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Lastly, on the Cyberpunk news is that same dev, again, unnamed, I believe. Not very important. Just know that it was someone from CD Projekt Red. They're targeting a 40 FPS mode by launch on the Switch 2, which, you know, that's one that's become kind of popular, especially this generation, especially on PS5, because a lot of things are 60 FPS or 30 FPS. You know, you seldom get the 120, but that's obviously becoming more popular. If Nintendo's latching onto it, you have to kind of understand that that's becoming a thing, especially at 1080. I mean, that's not super hard to achieve even on modern hardware. But what's important is that 40 FPS is generally reserved to video games that are usually like 1440 upscaled to 4K, but then with ray tracing. And as Drew mentioned earlier, with the DLSS, why can I not say that? DLSS. Am I saying it? Like I feel like I'm slurring.
You're saying it right. No, you got it.
I grew a lisp in the last 3 seconds, I guess. I don't know what happened. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. NVIDIA. They're partnering up, and it's actually rumored that the chipset in the Switch 2 is NVIDIA. Anyways, the important thing there is that generally 40 FPS is usually reserved for the sweet spot for it's the in between to get ray tracing working and looking and feeling good. Ratchet and Clank did that before they got the PS5 Pro patch out. It's a very popular thing. I think The Last of It also has this. It's not exclusive to PlayStation, but PlayStation kind of used it as their bread and butter to get things working. But that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Drew mentioned this earlier, but Capcom is massive and they're everywhere, and they're on the Nintendo Switch too with Street Fighter Years 1 and 2. You're getting the most recent Street Fighter. I guess you get all the fighting pack. I'm not really sure exactly. I don't want to say that like you get everything and then you don't.
Yeah.
So don't rely on me for that, but I'm assuming you would have to assume that, right? Years 1 and 2 would include Years 1 and 2 content. That's kind of how Siege does things at this point.
Yeah, it would make sense for sure.
If you're not into Street Fighter and you've been waiting for some reason and you want it on portable and on the Switch, I think go for it. That's pretty much all I gotta say about Street Fighter. But I love that Capcom is again killing it on pretty much every facet and level, and that they just keep getting better. It's one of like the comeback stories of the last decade is Capcom really like taking over as a huge third-party developer. We mentioned this earlier, but Civ 7 is also going to launch on the Nintendo Switch 2. Hogwarts Legacy, which, dude, I was actually kind of surprised how well this ran.
Oh, yeah. And it looks good, too.
Yeah, exactly. It looks really solid. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster. Classic.
Yeah.
A lot of people are Bravely Default fans. I've had that game downloaded on my Switch 1 for probably an embarrassing amount of time. I never played it, but I know that Bravely Default 1 and 2 are very beloved. And they have a really huge following. So that's really cool for them. I probably won't get it because, as I said, it's sat on my Switch 1 for too dang long. Yeah. This is exciting, Drewby, but it's not exciting. And I'll tell you why. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. And I'll tell you why it's exciting, Drewby. It's exciting because I think it was last year, Nintendo brought over Yakuza 1, which it's called Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of 1, and Kiwami 2 is a remake of 2. Stone, if you're listening to this, please don't butcher me. But the exciting part is that like these games coming over is a showcase of like Nintendo supporting even more third-party stuff. Yakuza really grew in the last decade in the West, I feel. And I feel like Yakuza 0 is a huge reason as to why that is. It's beloved and probably the favorite of most Yakuza fans, I would probably say. Drewby and I are actually playing this separately, of course, because it's, not of course, I guess now. But as of right now, it's a single-player game. But we're both playing it, and we're both loving it. But it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's called the Director's Cut. It includes new cutscenes, exciting, English voice acting, boo, a multiplayer mode, and more. I'm excited about the multiplayer because I wonder what it is. If it's like a beat 'em up, like with your friends, cool.
That would be awesome.
If it's anything else, probably boo.
I don't know if it's some of the mini games like that might be fun.
Dude, you actually make a solid point. The mini games in that game are insanely fun. I spent like 3 hours
for like a handful of them.
That's actually very true.
Yeah.
If we can go if we can go to batting practice together, epic. If we can go play darts together, epic. If we can go to the disco together, dude, epic.
If we can do karaoke together, that's it.
Honestly, we just need to do karaoke in real life, but that's beyond the point.
That's true.
But yeah, Yakuza 0. Huh?
I said with Jimmy Jam.
Oh, 100%. Ooh, that's actually fun. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
The Yakuza 0 Director's Cut is launching day 1 on the Switch 2. Do you have any thoughts about the English voice acting, by the way?
Boo.
That's what I thought, but
again, it's an option. How many people are going to choose that option? Probably like very little. So, I mean, like, cool, I guess that they have the option. It's just that takes away from what these games already are. It's like, we don't need that. So, yeah, I'm just like, if people want to do that, that's fine, but that's the wrong way to play it.
Yeah, I agree. Some companies like release info like only 12% played the single player to like a multiplayer game or something like that, like Battlefield or Call of Duty. That's ultimately why Black Ops 4 doesn't have a campaign, because Black Ops 3 wasn't super played. But regardless, I would love to know one day the people that use the English voice acting for Yakuza 0. I suspect it's trying to grow the American audience. But that's not the way to do it. Just learn how to read people. It's the Japanese voice acting is so good. It's awesome. But moving on from Yakuza, because this isn't the Yakuza podcast yet, maybe one day. Next up, Drewby, Fortnite, baby.
Yes,
we are so back.
We are so back. Mitch and I, as well as our friend Jimmy Jam, we play Fortnite often. Like, it's basically become a weekly like ritual to try and like almost every week we try to get a Fortnite session in, or play some other games, but Fortnite is the go-to, and we've had a blast. That game is still just crushing it in every way. They're always reinventing the battle royale genre. They're always keeping it fresh with new content, and it's kind of gotten to a point now where there was a few years where I felt like I couldn't keep up with Fortnite and all of its new updates, but it's so easy. Like if you don't play it for a month or longer, it's really easy to just pick it back up. So it's been a ton of fun, and no build is the way to play. And the fact that we have that option now is just, it's awesome. It's been a blast. So being able to play it on Switch too, we all knew it was going to happen, but the fact that it has hardware to like really take advantage of it, that's actually really awesome. And I could see myself maybe playing it on the Switch too every now and then, just for the heck of it. So you got the Pro controller with paddles. So yeah.
Dude, I mean, I'm not even joking. Like that is such a really big thing for Fortnite. Like,
yeah,
a lot of Fortnite's is a lot of kids' first game nowadays, which is wild to think about. But like a lot of like they're like, I remember my nephews who are I won't reveal their ages, but they're younger. And like I remember they used to come over to the house and they're like, "Hey, do you have Fortnite downloaded?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I got Fortnite downloaded. What are you kidding me?" So they hopped on there and he was cranking 90s, of course.
sure.
But like that's like the first video game he was ever interested in. And so like now he's like super into baseball and stuff, which is awesome. And he wanted to play the show at Christmas time, which was really cool. But yeah, man, like Fortnite is massive. And when it got super sweaty with the building, I couldn't keep up. I'll be honest, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was fun for a little bit, and then I think that we can honestly have an episode of Casket Minds where we just talk about how no build saved that game.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I would not be playing Fortnite if there was no zero build, to be quite honest. And the way that like Epic really like shape their content is so interesting and unique. And there's a reason that they're the unicorn in the industry for battle royales and basically the one consistent thing. Because I feel like Call of Duty keeps to have to changing up Warzone a lot, but that's another one that stays the same. But this isn't the Fortnite podcast yet. So moving on. Hitman World of Assassination, Signature Edition. They call it the Signature Edition. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I just know that it's the Hitman games. The World of Assassination is like the bundle of 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken.
And all the like DLCs
and stuff
comes with them.
So it's basically all the Hitman stuff.
And by the way, they all run on the same engine as Hitman 3. So they all have the upgraded graphics that Hitman 3 has and everything. All of the bells and whistles for upgraded gameplay and stuff. So it's a really cool collection. Highly recommend it to anyone. They're great games.
That's a really good shout because a lot of people actually do not know that it's all the same thing now. So it's a really complete package, and the way that they handle that, I think, is really, really awesome.
Yes.
But moving on, Deltarune. Do you know anything about this one?
I just know that I don't know if it's a sequel or what it is, but it's related to Undertale. Yeah, I know Undertale is really popular, but I've never played it, so
I hear only good things about it.
Same. I think it's cool that, again, this is a game that's going to be able to be played on there. I know it's going to be super popular in terms of indie games. So I think that's awesome. But am I going to play it anytime soon? Probably not, because there's other indie games that I want to play. So
that's the one thing is that, like, I think Switch 2 will really, because Switch 1 was my indie machine for a good while.
Yeah.
Until Game Pass really picked up the pace with like day one indie stuff. Like the Switch was my go-to for paid indie stuff. And I'm suspecting that the Switch 2 will do the same. So if when I do play Deltarune, it'll probably be on the Switch 2. Probably just because I have that association. I have this weird thing, and this is probably another topic for another day, but I have an association where, like, if a game started on a certain platform, I'll play it on that certain platform, or if it's more associated with one or the other. Like, for instance, I prefer playing, well, I guess now I prefer PC, but like I used to want to play Call of Duty on Xbox, even like the Xbox One days, because I'm like, I associate that with Xbox so much more than I ever do with PlayStation.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Psychonauts and all that kind of stuff. And now that Xbox is on PlayStation, we have so much to cover. We missed a whole lot of stuff on Casket Minds, y'all. Get ready,
Yeah.
buckle up. We're gonna go hard. But speaking of going hard, that's not what the rest of this list for at least day one's is. So we'll get through these real quick. Survival Kids, okay. Kunetsugami, that's how you say it. Close enough. Path of the Goddess. I know a lot of people like that game. Again, we are not one of them. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. Awesome. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. No Bungas. What is that word?
Cowabungas.
Yeah, that's what we're going to go with. Ambition Awakening Complete Edition. Listen, if you are a huge fan of that game and I butchered it for you and ruined this entire podcast, I apologize profusely. But much like the next game, Fast Fusion, we are getting out of that situation. Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer. All right, that's the day one games for your Nintendo Switch 2. That's exactly what that was. When and if, that's actually, I just made a conjunction, dude. I'm very proud of myself. No big deal. So those are the day one stuff for Switch 2. But, Drewby, later down the road, we're going to be eating good.
Yes, we are.
When we started talking about third party at this Nintendo Direct, the first game shown is the first game on our list. Elden Mother Truckin' Ring, dude.
Yes,
am ecstatic to get to play Elden Ring on a Nintendo console.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I already finished the main story of Elden Ring on my Xbox. I haven't finished Shadow of the Erd Tree. Haven't finished it yet. I'm going to. But dude, do I want to play Elden Ring in handheld mode? Hell yeah. That's happening. I am 1000% buying this. I even bought Elden Ring while it was on sale on my PlayStation, so I can have it on there now. So like I gotta continue the trend and get it on all platforms that I can. And playing it in handheld mode, that's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. So yeah, they're crushing it with the third party stuff.
The only thing that I have to add about the Elden Ring thing is that obviously one of the greatest games of all time on your console is a good thing. But they didn't mention Shadow of the Erd Tree, and it's interesting that they wouldn't bundle those together.
It is called Tarnished Edition, though, right?
Good point.
So
Good point.
I'm assuming that it does come with Shadow of the Erd Tree.
You know what? That's actually a very valid point.
Yeah.
Okay. So put a pin in that because that's probably correct. Next up, and actually the next thing that was actually showed in the showcase is Super Giants Hades 2.
Yes.
Looks fantastic.
Yes,
I bought almost a year ago, if not a year ago, around this time, Hades 2 Early Access started. Fantastic, dude. It's Hades 1 better, even in Early Access. So good. And the important thing to note here, which a lot of people did not catch, I had to actually make this clarification when we were on the Super Smash Cast, is that it launches first on Nintendo consoles. The Switch 1 and 2 gets Hades 2 first before PlayStation and Xbox. I believe PC, because PC is hosting the early access for Hades 2 now. I think that it's kind of like, here you go. But for consoles, the only way to play this first, and there's no telling the timed exclusivity of it, but it will launch first on Nintendo, which is really cool, I think.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a huge, huge pull for Nintendo.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I actually played Hades 1 the most on my Switch just because it's so easy to pick up, do a run, put it down. Same thing with like Balatro and stuff. Balatro? I don't know if I ever said that out loud.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said that out loud. the card game, for those who don't know. If you don't know, actually, that's one of the best games of last year and
I
last
still
few
haven't
years.
played it actually.
Dude, it's on Game Pass.
I know. It's on Game Pass. Well, yeah,
been a while,
It is Game Pass. So,
but yeah, it's on Game Pass now, so you can play it even through the cloud. So you can play it on your phone. Pretty cool.
It's awesome.
After that was Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. So if you are familiar with the Hyrule stuff or the Hyrule Warriors or just the Warriors in general, it's the Tears of the Kingdom version of Hyrule Warriors, which this is the third one, which is actually kind of impressive. So these games must sell a buttload to keep doing this. I think in concept, I think they're really cool. Like being able to fill in the gaps of like the old times and the old stories via like a different gameplay style and giving you different characters to play as, I think is really, really unique.
I agree. The Warriors games never really like did anything for me. I love games like horde type of games where you're just fighting a bunch of enemies and stuff, like Space Marine. I love stuff like that.
We gotta get back to that, by the way.
We do. We do. But I don't know. They just never really like piqued my interest like I wish they would. I think they just kind of look sometimes like some of the Warriors games just kind of look half baked in some ways. So I think that's why I never really like tried them out. I think it's cool that they're doing a sequel to this, and that it's going to be like more Tears of the Kingdom related. But probably like that's not going to be a game that I'll be picking up unless it's like on sale for me personally.
And that's the problem I was going to say is that like when you're buying Nintendo games and like second party games like this, they're still the full price. So like it's so hard without a demo at least to like get in there and be like, this is why you should play this game, because like it's such a high barrier of entry. And we'll get to pricing and stuff later, but I could see your points. I think they're all valid
for sure.
Speaking of valid, when they announced Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition, they followed that up immediately. IO Interactive. Why did Dude, I can't speak today. It's been a while, guys. Just bear with me. They announced that James Bond, the sequel, or not the sequel, but the
the sequel, James Bond 2.
The first one's nowhere to be found, and they announced the sequel.
Yeah,
I love that. That's something Nintendo would do, though. To be fair,
100%. Oh, that's a good one.
They showed off James Bond. We knew that they were working on this, but they announced that it was becoming a Switch, which again is a huge thing. It's a brand new, unreleased. Basically, we haven't seen any of it. And they're like, "Hey, this is coming to Switch," and it's like, "Yeah, of course it is. It's awesome." Man, I don't know how to say this word. Is it demon or is it Damon?
I think it's demon.
Demon X Machina. There is a certain type of person that likes these kind of games, but I don't think that's either one of us.
No.
But I do think they look kind of cool, but they're just not my thing in practicality. I know I know a few people that like love these kind of games, but again, I don't even know how to say the word, so obviously I don't know how to play it. But I still think it's cool that it's coming to the Switch, and I hope that everyone enjoys it. Moving on, you have the select few sports titles you get every year coming to Switch. They'll probably actually be real games this time. We promise.
Yeah.
We hope.
EA Sports is finally in the game on the Nintendo Switch.
Dude, those games are so bad on Switch. And like, as someone who puts hundreds of hours into sports video games every year, it's really sad. But and like when the Portal came out, I was super excited because I was like, you know what? I have great internet. I can stream FIFA, right, or FC, whatever it was at the time. Actually, it might have been FIFA. Probably not. Probably not. I don't remember. Who cares? No one cares. I don't even care. I streamed it and it was really bad. Quick side tangent though that I do want to shout out. The biggest thing that I love about my PS5 Pro is that there's a certain camera angle in FIFA, FC, whatever. Who gives a crap? That's like it's called professional or pro, and like you're like on the field behind the character, and when you pass the ball, it's like it goes to that character.
Yeah.
It always runs like shit. on everything ever until the PS5 Pro. It runs in 60 FPS majority of the time. And I'm like, dude, I found a new way to play it. Like I got hundreds of hours of content out of that just because of anyway. So Madden, FC, NBA 2K, and WWE 2K are all coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Not too surprising. They'll probably run pretty good, to be honest. And yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of not cool, Randy Pitchford was at the event. But what was pretty cool was Borderlands 4 was at the event.
Yeah.
And it's day one on Nintendo Switch 2. And that game actually looks good. And I'm tired of people pretending it doesn't, because I agree Borderlands 3 was a miss. The gameplay was the only redeeming quality of that game.
Yeah.
The story was ass. I completely understand. I couldn't even finish it. It was very cringe. I understand. But the gameplay implementations that they took from 3 to 4, like, absolutely fantastic. So if they can just get me with a good story, make me laugh a few times while I'm swinging around being cool as hell in Borderlands, dude, that's all I want. Borderlands is one of those franchises, again, that, like, no matter what mood I'm in, I can put that game on and play it with anyone and have a good time.
Have a great time. Yeah.
And I don't like the laughter that 1 and 2 provide me are fantastic, but like just being in that world with friends, like that cell shaded, like animated world, oh, dude, there's something about it. It's just super special to me.
Yeah. Nothing else is quite like it. And I will say, I think Borderlands 4 has a lot of potential. One of the things that they've talked about a lot is that they've taken a lot of the criticisms of 3 into account, really stepped up in terms of writing, not just for the story, but also humor. I've also heard that the humor is kind of, I mean, it's still there, but it's not like the focal point anymore, which I think is really interesting. So it seems like they're kind of, I don't know, almost like making its own tone for the game now. And you know, like, obviously there's still going to be humor, but they're just taking a different approach to it this time around. And I think that's necessary, because Borderlands 3 tried to emulate 2 and it missed so hard. So I'm glad that they're changing things up. Regardless, the game is going to play awesome. It looks super fun. So that's really what I care about the most, is being able to play that game with friends. Also, that it's going to have crossplay across all the platforms day one. So that's huge.
Yeah, I wish every game would do crossplay and cross progression day one.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
For sure.
I have a feeling that Borderlands 4 will probably be cross progression. That's another topic for another day, but that's something that having everything available to you, but not having every thing be cross progression is so frustrating.
Yeah.
But luckily, most of your giants, most of the great studios and games do have it, thankfully. And I've been thinking about the way of tackling these last 2 games, and I think the best way to do it, Drewby, is by immediately skipping over the next one, just like the Nintendo Direct did. Hollow Knight Silksong was announced for 2020, or confirmed for 2025 in the sizzle reel, and we're on to the last game.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. They did a sizzle reel of some other third-party stuff, and Silksong was in there, and Nintendo was just like, you guys don't care about that, right? The entire internet hasn't been up in flames about Silksong for the last, 3 years, wanting it at every direct that we put out. Literally, if you go to Nintendo social media, under any direct ever, there's always Silksong memes, pictures, GIFs, videos. It's like, Nintendo, come on.
Yeah.
You can't do us like that. But Hollow Knight Silksong is confirmed for 2025. Cool. Awesome. I'll believe it when I see it. When that game comes out and I can play it, I'll believe it. Until then, you do not exist.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that do not exist, I didn't think this game would ever exist. The premise, the likelihood, the people involved, the circumstances, it's the most bizarre thing out of this direct, in my opinion. which says something because this direct was an all-timer showcase of any kind across any platform. I recorded a video that maybe we'll upload to the channel one day of my actual reaction as it was happening in our group chat, where my jaw was on the floor. And of course, if you've seen the direct, you know that I'm talking about the Duskbloods, which starts off as if it's a Castlevania announcement, teaser, trailer, whatever you want to call it. And it shows the moon. It shows a hand. They say blood. So everyone in our little group chat that we got, our little games chat, is like, oh, Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne 2. And then they show the Victorian area stuff. And everyone's like, no. No. And then they start showing characters and NPCs. And then that FromSoft logo hits. And everyone's like, what the fuck are we actually witnessing right now? There is no way we're getting Bloodborne 2 or any, because it's clearly not Bloodborne 1.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here, right? And it turns out that From Software has made a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive directed by Miyazaki himself. I cannot believe that I said those words out loud. Miyazaki's next game is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and we won't have to get to them all here. But what I'll say for now is that I myself struggle to see me getting hooked in a game like this, because it's an 8-player PvPvE, probably an extraction kind of game. But what I'll say, Drewby, is that Miyazaki has never let me down in anything ever.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people would benefit to learn from, is that this could, I don't even think this is the money talking at this point. I don't think it's Nintendo money. I don't think this guy sacrifices vision for money, right?
No, never.
I don't think that it's a mistake that he went to Nintendo for an exclusive. I don't think it's a mistake that this game is the way that it is and looks the way that it looks and probably feels the way that it feels. But man, how exciting is it that we're getting a Miyazaki-led film? God, I've been watching a lot of Studio Ghibli recently. Please forgive me. I actually just saw Princess Mononoke in 4K IMAX, and it was extraordinary.
Heck yeah.
But that's another time for another podcast. Banner fodder, plug below. Man, what are your thoughts on the Duskbloods?
Yeah, in our group chat that we're in, I was like, Castlevania? That's the first thing I said, because you see the pale white skin, you hear the word blood, and you're like, yeah, it's Castlevania. And keep in mind, Konami has done stuff with Castlevania before on Nintendo, so it makes sense. I was like, yeah, this is Castlevania, and it's a 3D one. All right, cool. I'm curious. That From Software title hits, and I about shit my pants. I was like, there is no way. And then the fact that they're like, yeah, it's a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive led by Miyazaki is unreal. Who would have ever thought? There was no rumors at all for this happening. The fact that this was this tightly lipped, no rumor at all, nothing, no leak came out about this is wild. And I will say on the Smashcast, which yes, I'm mentioning again, we talked about how it is a PvP VE game, but if you think about it, that's what all of the Soulsborne games are. Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. That's what those types of games are. So it could just be that again, but hey, we're getting 8 players with it now, and the co-op mode is just seamless throughout the entire world. And if that's what it actually ends up being, I am 1000% sold. But it's got Miyazaki's name on it, And I'm not saying that to just be like from soft glaze, but like that speaks volumes that he is making a Switch exclusive and it being 8 players. I think the 8-player aspect of it also just shows that Nintendo is going all in right now, not on making multiplayer games like live service games or whatever, but they're like, hey, our consoles have been the consoles to have a bunch of friends playing together at the same time, and they're kind of just taking the next step in evolution for that and being like, hey, we've got a heavy hitter exclusive that is multiplayer from one of the most beloved developers and creators with Miyazaki and FromSoft. Play our console. I think that's insane. Like this is 100% a console seller, and the sky is the limit from here. I think we're gonna see a lot more stuff like this in the future from Nintendo.
Yeah, you made a plethora of magnificent points. The multiplayer stuff and like leading the way to the next multiplayer thing, I think is a really great point. How like Nintendo wants you to have the polished single player, but also like the fun with your friends. That's their MO. And I feel like with Night Rain, which I'm so surprised the Dusk Bloods is announced in a thing before Night Rain even gets a chance to, like, we don't know if that thing's going to succeed or if it's going to flop. And if it does flop, what does that mean for the Dusk Bloods? Well, I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll talk about it later on the Casket Minds podcast.
Yeah.
But until then, it's a fascinating, like, introspective thing of, like, you have to assume that Nintendo's infrastructure is going to be able to handle that. So, like, that goes back to our thing of, like, we've been hearkening on of, like, it has to be good, or at least good enough for Miyazaki to be like, I can make you a game on this thing. And while you were, like, I've heard the conversation of, like, the Dark Souls and, you know, FromSoft games being PvPvE before, but I never really thought of it like it could still be a mostly single player experience, but with those people also in there.
Yeah.
Because we really don't know what this game is. We just know that it's up to 8 players, the PvPvE stuff. We didn't get too much, like, in terms of what we are actually doing in the game. And I suspect that we probably won't until either Summer Game Fest or more likely the Game Awards. But that has a 2026 release date. And once we get more info, you better believe that we're going to be talking about it because we can't stop thinking and talking about it now.
Also, one more thing I want to say about it real quick.
Go ahead.
We got a 2026 release window. The fact that we got as much gameplay as we did, I think it's going to be an early 2026 release.
I think you're cooking.
And that's not out of the realm of possibility for FromSoft. They've done it before with Elden Ring. That was what, like a February or March release.
February.
So dude, that's exciting that we're actually like not that far away from getting the next brand new IP from Miyazaki.
Yeah, actually,
like, that's crazy, man.
Not to cut you off, but just Elden Ring was into February. Sekiro was mid to late March. Night Rain is first half of this year. I think you're absolutely correct. I think Dusk Bloods is probably first half of next year.
Yeah.
And no telling what else they're doing because with all their success, and actually now Sony owns, I think, like 10% of their stake.
Something like that.
They're probably churning out these things left and right. You got to imagine an Armored Core sequel's inevitably on the way. Something more traditional Souls-like, probably single player, is probably being cooked up. Like, man,
yeah,
I don't know how this developer does it. Like, it breaks my brain. But that's exactly what the Direct did, and that's exactly what the third-party support did. But I don't know if that broke my brain as much, probably as much as the first party shown.
Yeah.
And Drewby, I'm going to go in reverse order.
Reverse order.
Reverse. Sorry, I started about to scream fire walk with me here in a minute. Oh man, Twin Peaks, I love you. I'm gonna. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. I didn't see that one down there. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna go in the way that I have it listed because we'll talk about them. You know what? Let's list them and then let's talk about them. Whatever. We're gonna do it the way we want to do it. All right. So first game, Mario Kart World. It's at launch. That's your launch title, everyone. Metroid Prime 4. We have no idea when you're coming out. But Mario Kart World, we also don't know when you're coming out because we don't know if June 5th is actually going to happen. We hope, though.
Yeah.
So Mario Kart World is the answer to what can Mario Kart become. I was just going to leave it at B, but I think the question is, where do we go after Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? And I think that Mario Kart World is the perfect next step and next evolution of Mario Kart. So for those who don't know, it's open world. Well, it has an open world free roam function. It has your traditional Grand Prix, but between races, you race to the next course. And then you immediately start that next course when you reach it. This is such a cool and innovative thing that, like, it's not completely brand new, but for the series, it's revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, it takes wall running from Titanfall. It takes, like, grinding rails like you would do, like, in a skate game. It takes, like, the open worldness of, like, Forza Horizon. And it takes, like, Sunset Overdrive, which you shouted out on the Smashcast. It takes all of these little things that everyone loved about these smaller, sadly underappreciated franchises and puts it in the next big Mario Kart game. And I think that it's like the perfect blend of what this series should go for now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this is really setting the bar for honestly, I say this is not just setting the bar for Mario Kart, but it's setting the bar for their first party titles in general.
Agreed.
I think that we're going to see Nintendo just really swinging, hitting home runs nonstop with their first party titles, like going for the next evolution for each game. Because if you think about, like, a lot of their first party titles outside of Breath of the Wild plus Tears of the Kingdom, it's been more of the same. They'll do a new thing here and there, but it's what they're good at. And it's like no notes. Like, you made a good game. You don't have to do anything more. But this with Mario Kart World, all of those new features, over 80 characters, you can do a world tour race where you drive from one side of the map to the other with 24 players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the list keeps going on and on. Costumes for each of the characters, tons of options. I think there's over 30 vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, and you can change the cosmetics on those too. So it's just like, there's so much in here, and there's going to be more because we're getting a direct in what, like a week or two from this
the
recording?
17th.
Yeah. We're getting a direct just for Mario Kart World. So they've got more surprises in there that we don't even know about yet, which is, I don't even know what to say. I have a really strong feeling that there's going to be, since there is an open world mode in it, and that's kind of like the main focus, I have a feeling that there's going to be some really exciting things to do in the world outside of racing. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to have time trials. You're going to have collectibles that you can get. But on top of that, I think we're going to see some, like, really exciting mini games. Like, maybe they'll implement stuff from, like, Mario Party, or, like, maybe I've even thought about, like, it would be really cool if you could hop out of your vehicle and go, like, full on 3D Mario. Like, they might do something crazy like that. Maybe they won't. And that's fine, because they've already done way more than I was expecting and way more than I was hoping for. So if they don't, that's fine. But they obviously have some other stuff cooking that we haven't even seen yet, and that is just I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all, really. The fact that they could take this franchise in so many different directions now has me so much more excited than ever before. I'm never not going to be excited for more Mario Kart, new Mario Kart levels or races rather, and characters and everything like that. But the fact that we have like at or near 80 characters, multiple costumes per character, free roam in a world where like you can go through the tracks and learn the tracks without racing in the tracks, without having to worry about losing that spot.
And go outside of the tracks.
Yeah, like even during the races, nothing's off limits.
Yeah.
You can just lose the race, but nothing's off limits. Another thing we haven't talked about yet is like the relegation form of racing, where like if you're the last few, you're out, and like the upper echelon keep going. That's such a really coul thing.
Yeah, and it's going to make it so much more competitive.
I love it so much. I think I can't remember if I heard that it's last 8 or last 4, but it doesn't matter. Like that's so freaking rad that it's in a video game like this. And yeah, like you said, there's so much they can do. DLC doesn't have to just be characters anymore. It doesn't have to be just levels. They can do so much with that world. They can keep like events, like you were saying, like stupid little live concerts with like people. They can team up with celebrities and like have like concerts in the park in the summer.
Oh man,
like there's so much they can do. And I honestly don't know if they will, but the fact that they could is amazing. And just lastly on Mario Kart World, I think I want to like retouch on something you just said, is that for a while that like they've kind of become comfortable with how they make games and like port their games of like they'll do like little implementations and it's like, okay, you made a good game, like that's cool. But I think that the important thing here is that every time we've gotten a significant upgrade to hardware is when we truly see Nintendo's innovation. So like when we're going from Wii U to Switch is when we got Odyssey. That's when we got not Tears of the Kingdom, but Breath of the Wild. These huge, massive tentpole things. So that I think that when we get like, because the Switch 2 is much, much, much better than the Switch 1. The things that it can do natively on the hardware is so much more impressive and leaves so much more to the developers and Nintendo to like really nail. Like HDR alone is going to boost these games in a way that I don't think people are expecting, because you can't really showcase HDR unless you have an HDR capable thing, and you can't really showcase that over a stream anyways.
Yeah.
These games look fantastic, but they're going to look even better in your hands on your televisions. Like, make no mistake about that. Man, I think it's super exciting seeing what they did with Mario Kart, and then thinking about what they could do with the next, like 3D Mario, thing they could do with the next Zelda. We know they're not going to do anything like the same Breath of the Wild or anything like Tears of the Kingdom, but like the next big, like it could be a traditional like behind the shoulder Link. Like I think of like God of War, but like with Link.
Yeah,
that's epic. Like,
that is epic, and I honestly could absolutely see them doing that.
It would be extraordinary, and they have the power to do it now. Like you could do that on Switch, but it wouldn't be what it could be now, right? Yeah. And I think that it shows that they're learning from PlayStation in the sense of like they're like, okay, these people want these types of games. Like I believe that's why we're getting Metroid Prime. I think that they see that like they want the single player experience. They're hearkening for that. Like, go and take advantage of it, and people will come. And people are excited out of their minds for Metroid Prime 4. Yeah, I'm so stoked. But we'll get to the last little bit of the Mario Kart World stuff that I want to talk about at the end. But I want to running you through some more of these first party games.
Yeah.
So behind me is the man himself,
Yes, sir.
It's what closed out the Direct. Everyone, including myself, was saying 3D Mario, here we come. Nintendo said, up yours. Here's a banana. Go get it. And it's
Here's a banana up yours.
Ooh, I like it. 3D Donkey Kong, baby. We are so back.
Yes.
Dude, this game looks incredibly dumb, but incredibly dumb fun. Yeah. I cannot wait to feel how stupid this monkey feels when I'm smashing through literally everything. Yeah. It's going to be so much fun. His facial expressions, I know he's getting a lot of flack online about like the redesigned Donkey Kong, but I personally think it looks really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love old DK. I've always been a huge DK fan, but like I really like the way that this one looks. In this game, I will admit, I was watching the Treehouse because we wanted to wait for the pod to watch the Treehouses to get more information and stuff like that, so that we wouldn't have to keep scourging the internet trying to find release dates and prices. And it's been a week. But the Treehouse, like when they were in the mines, I was like, this is all right. But then like when they actually got out and like showed what they can actually do, like picking up, like I would suggest going to watch the Treehouses because I can't explain to you the nuances without like showing you the gameplay and without like being basically the controller in my hands, because I don't know what it feels like, but like just this quick little instance. So you can pick up things from the ground, and it says like sturdy, or if it's soft, it'll say like a softer material. And if you throw it to a harder material, it'll stick, but not as good if it was sturdy. And it's like they created levels upon levels of like layers of like minerals that you can smash through. And honestly, I was listening to Kind of Funny, like we've been quoting them a lot, but they've had really good coverage of this stuff. So shout out Kind of Funny, go watch a lot of their content. They put them up as Gamescast if you care for your podcast feeds. But Tim was saying that like everyone that he talked to had a different experience with the 20 minutes that they got with Donkey Kong, because of just like everything is destructible. And so like a lot of the ways that people got out of like the caves or like the area that they were in, they smashed it a different way. There's apparently a way where you can like sneak through underground. It's insane. Like It feels like a Tears of the Kingdom level of like freedom of do what you want, but you're still achieving the same goal.
And it's a 3D platformer with that level of freedom, which is really exciting.
Exactly. And it seems like this is the same team that made 3D the last 3D Mario, which is Odyssey.
Okay.
Apparently it's the same devs, unconfirmed, but it does look a lot like Odyssey.
Yeah.
And it looks like it plays very similar. But that's exciting because Odyssey is a masterpiece.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm super stoked for this. Even though like Mario Kart World is probably going to be like the better of the two games, let's say.
Yeah.
I think Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is such an incredible title.
It's bananas.
Yeah, it's bananas. The trailer had me going bananas.
True.
I think this is the game that I'm most excited about that they revealed.
Yeah.
I love Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2. And Donkey Kong 64 is awesome and so underrated. And
True.
The fact that we're getting our first 3D Donkey Kong after that long of a time is wild. But man, what a way to come back. Having that fully destructible environment in a Donkey Kong game, that's so wild. And I would have never thought of something like that happening. But again, in a lot of ways, it feels like they're taking elements of all of these popular games, or like games that people love, like Minecraft, like Battlefield, like they're taking that destructible environment, they're throwing it in one of their games. Or with Mario Kart, they're taking elements from Titanfall, they're taking elements from this and that and putting them into one and putting their own Nintendo spin on it. I think like that's the future of Nintendo that we're gonna be seeing. I'm stoked. I can't wait to play this game. It looks amazing.
I think the best compliment that we can give this Direct and that the Direct honestly just is complimented by also is the new games that they showed, with Mario Kart and Donkey Kong being the biggest ones from the first party like showcasing, is that they're so vastly different from the last thing that both things did. So, for instance, if that's confusing, Mario Kart World to Mario Kart 8 is like a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Bonanza to the last Donkey Kong property, which I'm not going to count Mario versus Donkey Kong. It's probably what Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on the Wii U / ported to Switch. It's obviously it's 3D versus 2D, but like it's doing something so vastly different that even like compared to like 64, it's so different. But like it's so good. And if we can have like Nintendo getting the success of the Switch and boosting themselves to the Switch 2, I honestly feel like this could be Nintendo's PS3 to PS4 era, where like the Switch was obviously a huge success compared to the PS3 in terms of like Xbox 360 was eating PS3's lunch, but PS3 caught up at the end, and then the PS4 PlayStation came out swinging. I feel like the lessons learned from the Switch, albeit it being like one of the massive success stories ever and like the best-selling console and software, I still don't feel like they've hit their stride yet. I feel like they're just finding like what these franchises can be. And I think that taking the Mario Kart Deluxe route for the Switch only made Switch 2 more powerful. Like Mario Kart World, I feel like can outsell Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just given how much they can do with it.
Yeah.
Which is insane to say because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like, I don't want to say a number but I know it's like upper. We're getting closer to 3 digits than not for millions of copies sold.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah. Speaking of wild, the next 2 things on the list are Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions. Both available at launch. Unfortunately, there's no price, which means that the only way we currently know how to access this in terms of money is via Nintendo Switch Online. So NSO is the only way that we know that you get that upgrade. It's no additional upgrade. So we didn't say this earlier, but I think it's important to clarify. The GameCube is a Nintendo Switch 2 only feature for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
It's not going to be on the original Switch. And the Switch 2 editions, at least for Legend of Zelda, are included with the Nintendo Switch Online, much like the booster packs were for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, on top of the Animal Crossing DLC that came out, and I believe a couple other things, but I'm blanking on that, so forgive me. They're called expansion passes, I think, or expansion packs or something.
Upgrade packs. That's what
upgrade packs, even worse. Leave it to Nintendo. We don't know the price of those yet, but Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are much better looking. They have HDR, and they have a much higher frame rate than the predecessors of the Switch. They look so freaking good, like breathtaking good.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to jump back into both of these games with these upgrades. It's long overdue, but I'm glad that we're here. I'm glad that we're getting the best versions of these games that we can possibly get officially. I'm excited because I didn't finish Tears of the Kingdom. I'm excited.
I didn't even finish Breath of the Wild.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No better time, baby. Switch 2.
I know. So I can finally do that and have the game actually run like it should. And
True.
That has me so excited because I will 100% play through those games all the way through with like actually good frame rate.
See, the frame rate things, honestly, it's got me to where like I'm like, I want to play Breath of the Wild again.
Yeah.
So like I'm getting these 2 games at launch for this thing. So like even though it's not slam packed full, which no console ever is, but it's not slam packed full of like first party offerings, but you're getting 2 brand new ways to play 2 extraordinary games.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff. Unfortunately, the only downside to those is that we don't know the price for the upgrade packs. Keeping up with unfortunate news, Nintendo Welcome Tour, which should be their pack-in game, their Wii Sports, their Astrobot, their everything, just your pack-in game, is called Nintendo Welcome Tour. It is a playable instruction guide, manual, whatever you want to call it. It's paid. It is software that is not free. There's no official price, only translated from, I think, yen. And I think it's like $6 or something. I put
Okay,
5 to
that's
10.
not nearly as bad as I was expecting.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I put 5 to 10 in our doc for the show because I think it'll probably be between there based on the discrepancy of translating. But either way, it should not be paid. But I did hear something interesting. I heard that in Reggie's book, obviously of former Nintendo, that he had to basically beg Miyamoto to include Wii Sports at the time because they felt like it was a full game that they could sell on their own, which they were right because they did it for the Switch.
Yeah.
But he basically had to like be like, no, trust me, include this with it. It'll be a huge success if you include it with it. And he was right. Not much else to say about Nintendo Welcome Tour besides shame on you, Nintendo, for charging everyone for this. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you got anything to add about that?
No, just disappointing that it's paid, but also disappointing that they didn't actually make like a real pack-in game. Astrobot was a tech demo, but it was a full game too.
Yes, that's true.
This is not a full game, and I don't really see anyone wanting to really go out of their way to buy it unless they're someone reviewing games, you know, they're a game journalist or something. So it was a weird decision from them, but yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, if it goes on sale for a couple bucks eventually, maybe I'll grab it. But that's the only reason, and that would be from sheer curiosity. A couple more things here before we jump to the last point that I want to make. That Super Mario Party Jamboree I think it's called like Jamboree TV. It's a little add-on. It gives you like little mouse controls that the Switch 2 is bringing. The camera feature, there's a camera feature now that does like mini games and stuff. It's basically what you would expect out of a Switch 2 Super Mario Party thing. They're just attaching it to Jamboree. Oh, quick little note here. Donkey Kong Bonanza is out July 17th. We didn't say that, but
oh yeah, that's true. But it'll be on the screen.
True.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to quickly say that for the audio listeners at least. July 17th is that, so it's a little over a month, probably like 6 weeks after the launch. Because I mentioned that because Super Mario Party Jamboree TV or whatever it's called is the week after that. So July 24th. So July, you're getting a little bit, and like we said earlier with the GameCube stuff, Super Mario Strikers is playable at the Nintendo event where you get the hands-on Switch 2. So I imagine that's in the first couple months here. So
yeah,
they're going to slowly be introducing things, even if it's older things that you've already experienced. It's something new with these things. Another little tidbit that I think is really cool. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I'm unsure if this is going to be included with the Nintendo Switch Online, but it drops August 28th. But I think what's really cool about this is it adds all the bells and whistles that you would expect out of the Switch 2, but it adds a DLC as well.
Interesting.
So think like Bowser's Fury. It's called Plus Starcross World. We got to see a little snippet of it in the direct. Looks really cool. This game sold a lot more than anyone was anticipating, which is why this is getting a lot of love. And rightfully so. Like, Kirby rules. One of my mains in Smash. Probably my earliest main in Smash, to be honest. Just because he's so consistent across the entire spectrum of Smash. But,
yeah,
man, really cool. Did you get to play Kirby in the Forgotten Land?
I didn't know, but now I have the chance to, so that's cool.
That's true. And we'll come back to that game in a minute, because the very last game that we get to talk about with you today is a Kirby game. And I don't think any of us were really expecting this, but I also think it's really cool. So at the end of the Direct, they were like, one final thing. And Kirby jumps up on the screen. You know, he attaches to his little star. He's chilling on his little star. And everyone's like, ooh, smash, smash, smash. And Kirby held on there a little bit too long. You know what I mean? He really wanted that star power. Turns out it is Kirby Air Riders, which is a new entry in the Kirby Air Ride, I guess, series from Sakurai, launching in 2025. This is the second game from first party that has a 2025 release date that doesn't have like a solid like dated thing. The other being Metroid Prime 4. So these are probably coming later in the year. I didn't even know Air Ride was a thing. I'll be honest.
I didn't either.
But everyone came out of the woodwork when this game was announced and being like, Sakurai's getting his Kirby game. And I'm like, you know what? I love Sakurai from Smash. He's my Smash man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just happy. Like, I know Smash caused like a lot of stress for him because like it's such a, especially Ultimate, dude. Ultimate's like the old, I guess pun intended, the ultimate fighting game, like the ultimate like Nintendo game in my opinion. Like having that roster must have been exhausting. So the fact that he gets to go back to his like well, I hope he went to bed because he's probably very tired. But his bread and butter in Kirby, because I don't know if you know this or not, but he created like Kirby and like a lot of the early Kirby stuff. Yeah, I'm just really glad that he got to go do something that he really wanted and like felt passionate about after Ultimate, because like, man, again, that game is insanely well put together.
Yeah. This one didn't do much for me in the way that like I'm like a massive Kirby fan, because I just haven't played any of the Kirby games, which is a shame. But I'm excited to like get the opportunity now. And I knew nothing about Kirby Air Ride. When we were on the Smash Cast, Ryan was telling us about it. I looked up videos of it, particularly the city mode that he was talking about, and it looks really fun. I think it's interesting that they have 2 racing games coming out in the same year. And so I'm curious to how we didn't see any footage of Air Riders yet. It was all pre-rendered CGI stuff. So I'm curious, like, what is this game going to be like? How's it going to differ from Mario Kart? Obviously, like, it's Kirby and they're riding on like airboards or whatever, but like it's different in terms of that, but it's still a racing game. So I'm curious, like, what is he cooking with this? It'll be exciting to see more from this game. It's a bold decision to end the show with that, but I think it's really cool. I like it. So yeah, I'm curious to see what Sakurai is cooking up, because he makes a lot of great games. So I have a lot of hope and faith that this will be awesome. And even if it's not particularly for me, I'm just glad that it exists, that it's a sequel to something that a lot of people probably never thought they would get a sequel to.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at, where like I don't know much about it at all besides looking from a few videos after the announcement and Ryan suggesting it and whatnot. But from my understanding, it's different enough from Kart that it could work. And if this is going to be a more traditional like on rails, like a more traditional like kart racing game, I feel like it can have the space. Even though Mario Kart does that, it's deviating enough to be like, hey, we can have both of these spaces. And I also think it's important that like Nintendo is still relying on the main top people at Nintendo now. Like Sakurai being able to just have the freedom to go do what he wants next, and him choosing this, I think is really special, because I feel like in today's landscape of video games, of like, you make it, and if it doesn't do good, you're gone. Nintendo has been immune to this so far, and hopefully continues to be, because obviously the industry is in shambles at the moment. But I'm really hoping that Sakurai's name can carry Kirby a little bit further. I hope that like the stories of him like creating Kirby, and like, I know a lot of people don't know that, and I know that a lot of people like don't even know that he's like one of the people that like pioneered not only Kirby but like Smash, and like,
Yeah.
If they can like lift him up a little bit more, I feel like it becomes beneficial, because they're already letting him do what he wants. If he becomes more of a household name, I feel like Shu, for example, from PlayStation, became like this like iconic figure in PlayStation. If we could do that for Sakurai, it would boost Nintendo and Sakurai's name a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's cool to like see them just giving their like most respected creators the opportunity to just make whatever they want right now.
Yeah.
Like even not throwing, if it is the Mario Odyssey team working on Donkey Kong, them not being thrown onto the next 3D Mario and making a 3D Donkey Kong,
Mm-hmm.
which hasn't happened since the 90s. Like, I think that also speaks a lot for what this next generation of Nintendo is going to be like.
Agreed.
We're going to get the next evolutions of stuff, but we're also going to get a lot of interesting, different takes on our franchises that we all know and love. So it's just an exciting time to be a Nintendo fan right now, and also just gamer in general. Like, we're kind of kicking off a little bit early with the big flood of all these game announcements that we're going to be getting this year. And I think this year in particular is going to be huge for Summer Game Fest. I think we're going to get a lot of awesome stuff from PlayStation being shown this year, and at a hopefully PlayStation showcase. Like, we got a lot cooking this year, and it feels good to be back doing the Casket Mine stuff at the most perfect time possible.
I agree. Which brings me to my next point of sometimes it's not great to be a gamer in 2025 because of what just happened after the Direct. And we've been alluding to this all episode. I promise not to rant too much longer on your ears. But we got to talk about this because we haven't got to talk about this yet publicly. And we didn't even do it on the Super Smash Cast, unfortunately. But that's also a 3-hour long podcast that we were talking mostly about Nintendo anyway. But what I really want to talk about right now is Nintendo's baffling decision to not only leave the price out of the Direct, but the price of their video games has caused the internet to light on fire. Rightfully so. In some ways, rightfully wrong in a lot of ways. So let's dive into it. Mario Kart World is an $80 video game. We have no idea why it's an $80 video game. There's no justification by Nintendo, of course. There's no logic, no explanation. It's just that prices went up, as in like went up online, not actually up. But I mean, obviously they did. But there's only a select few of games that are $80. So for instance, Mario Kart World, Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 physically, and there's one more that I'm blanking on, but Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is after Mario Kart World, is $70. Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Enhanced Edition is $70. Cyberpunk 2077 is $70 on Switch too. So it begs the question, what the hell are we doing? Like, there's no consistency, there's no messaging, there's no PR, there's no putting out the fires. There's just rampant rage and brush fire across the internet because it's like we don't want $80 games, even though we're probably overdue for that price tag given inflation and tariffs now. There is far too little information to go off of. I could sit here and make a case as to why Mario Kart World should be $80, but I don't want to make that case because I don't want to pay $80. I don't think Nintendo will ever give us an actual reason why, but my only hope is that no one follows suit because we just got the $70 price bump and people weren't happy about that. Yeah. And so going up $10 again feels like the Netflix thing of like you getting that email of like, we've raised the prices by $5 again. It's like, you just did that like a month ago, brother. Like pipe it down. And it's like, I will shell out $80. I'll even blue shell it out for Mario Kart World. I know that I'll put 100 hours in. I'll play this game endlessly this year, especially when we're hosting people or if the inline infrastructure is good. We will be playing Mario Kart on Fortnite nights. We'll be doing endless game nights with friends, right?
Yeah.
Even myself, I'll be sitting there playing Grand Prix. I'll play against strangers. I'll hook my camera up and chill on some kids. Like, I'm gonna be stoked, dude. Like $80 for Mario Kart World, I'm fine with, but I need to know why you priced it like that.
Yeah.
And like I say I'm fine with it, but I don't want that to be the standard, and I don't want games to necessarily have varying degrees, but I do because I think that some games are like worth $40 versus 70. But obviously, and that's also like a AAA versus AA versus, indie. It obviously there's a lot of nuance here, right?
Yeah.
And I think that charging $20 more than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe makes a little bit of sense given how much is in Mario Kart World. But it also begs the question of like, is this how they're circumnavigating live service aspects? So like, will costumes be free? Will updates be free? Will the new races be free? Or all these if all these updates are free, I will pay $80 to have a complete version from Switch 2's launch to Switch 2's end of Mario Kart World. I'm fine with that. If I don't have to shell out $10 extra later for the next map pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, I feel like that's not necessarily the issue because, like I said, Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 version is also $80. And there's a whole other problem there because here we go. There's a thing called game key cards that are basically like readable files that say, hey, this person owns this game. They can download it and play it, but only if you have this cartridge in. So it's kind of like some games in modern physical gaming, but not all games. And not all Nintendo games are game key cards. So it's this confusing thing that came out after the Direct that is a PR nightmare that they haven't fixed and have shown no sign of fixing. And it's awful because it's like, as someone who buys every first party and some even third party, like I bought Hades 2 when it first came out for Switch physically because I didn't think I would ever get another physical copy of Hades and I loved the game. So I was like, you know what? I bought you digitally, I'll buy you physically, whatever. Anyway, the point is I buy a shit ton of physical stuff, movies, comics, everything. I love physical.
Yeah.
And it feels like a spit in the face, not even a slap. It feels like a spit in the face to put out like game cards for the same price for a game that gives me the enhancements that isn't even the actual game on the cart. What are you doing the cart for? I don't get the middleman. Like it's either physical or digital.
Do the Mario Kart. Don't do the game cart.
Seriously, like I don't know. I feel like I've been ranting for a little bit, so I'll let you have it. But like,
yeah, I echo your thoughts exactly, and it's just weird that we haven't gotten anything from Nintendo on this stuff. Like, why are we not getting any word from them? They're just letting this all go into flames. They should put out a statement and like explain stuff very thoroughly and why they made those decisions. Unfortunately, they're so far along with some of these decisions that they're not going to retract them. Like lowering the price back down to 70 for their brand new titles, they're not going to do that. Getting rid of the game cards, they're not going to do that either. Not for right now. Maybe they will do that in like a year from now, after games have like, had that for a bit.
The bridge period goes away probably.
Yeah, but like that, it's not going to be anything that's happening anytime soon, and so it's just, I don't know. It's been a mess after the showcase. The showcase was so strong, and you've got so much great stuff there. And unfortunately, everything after hasn't been that same consistent quality that we expect from Nintendo.
Yeah.
We expect them to be the champions of physical media. They have been up until this point. So that's another thing. It's all very strange. And I just hope that things start making a little bit more sense soon. And I'm sure they will, but yeah, it's been a mess with the tariffs, all these different things, which is a shame because this console looks great. The games look awesome. Nintendo is like coming in full swinging, taking all the criticisms that they had before and improving on those. But unfortunately, they're bringing new ones along the way, and they're not great. So
yeah, and like that's the thing, and like I just want to reiterate that, or maybe I'll bring up this point because I don't think we have before. For some weird reason, it's cool, but it's hard to explain. There's a Zelda Notes app coming for Tears of the Kingdom where like there's a GPS function literally where like you put a point on the map and it'll be like, go left, you're nearing your destination. It's like, yeah, okay. But then like you can share your inventions with other people. Awesome, rad. And if that's the $10 extra for Tears of the Kingdom, I can see that. And I would be more fine with that if, I don't remember if the app's free, I'm sure it is, but I'd be a little bit more fine with it. Only a little bit if it was on a physical cart. Because like you said, they're kings of physical media. Like they're the only publisher company, especially like this scale, first party for sure. You go, you get the cart, you put it in your Switch. There's hardly ever a download. It's 1.0. You're getting the game on the cart. It's very seldom you even get an update for like Switch games. It's incredible what they do. And then to rip that back, and just in case there's someone in the comments, like this is not a new thing for Nintendo. Like they sell like Fortnite discs, and or not discs, but like cases where like you get the key, you get a skin or something. There's also like, don't even get me started, but PlayStation now physical, like the not physical, but the what I'm looking for
collector's editions.
Yes, thank you. They don't come with physical games anymore. It's only digital codes. Yeah. So frustrating. I'm not ready for the digital future. Maybe I'm just old, but it's frustrating. There's no sign. There's no reason. Donkey Kong is $70. Mario Kart 8 World is $80. I guess that's all I got to say about it. But
yeah,
there seems like no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, we don't have any reason or understanding of why those choices were made. I hope that we find out a little bit more behind the reason why Mario Kart is $80 at the very least, but it is what it is, and a lot of people aren't going to like it. I mean, we don't, obviously, but a lot of people are going to, take that to heart and are going to skip out on the Switch for a little bit.
Yeah.
They're going to boycott. And I mean, I don't blame them, but me being who I am with gaming, I I got to get that console ASAP.
That's my thing.
And I will spend $80 on that game 100%.
And that's the thing that's so frustrating is that like there was a conversation with a few of our friends that day of the day like everything was happening, which was Wednesday, the direct, and we were like, I was like, I don't want to pay $80, but I feel like I had no other option. Like Nintendo games don't go on sale, and when they do, it's like $5, and it's like, am I gonna wait 6 months to a year to play Mario Kart World for a $5 to $10 to maybe even $20 discount? It's like I have no choice but to bend the knee to Nintendo if they do this. Like, and if other people follow suit, it's like gaming is like 1A to 1B in my hobbies of things I like to do. Like, if it becomes more premium, I just have to spend more money, and I don't have to be happy about it. But like, at the end of the day, Nintendo's not going to listen to the Casket Minds podcast and be like, "Oh, these guys are angry." Like, send the copyright strike. It's like, man, I have no other choice but to play Mario Kart World on a Switch 2 that I have to overpay for to get this experience. The thing is that like I'm so excited for this experience, like I'm willing to pay $80 for this game, but I'm not willing to pay $80 for every game.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I'm ultimately at, where like there's always a thing of like GTA 6 is going to launch and be $100 because it can. And it's like, yeah, and I would pay $100 to play Grand Theft Auto 6.
1,000%.
And that's the frustrating part is that like maybe the market just becomes a thing where like everything is single-handedly like priced. And if that's the case, then good luck to all the people that think that Assassin's Creed is going to be $100 and worth it because people are barely paying $70 for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's also shout out Assassin's Creed Shadows. I heard it's pretty good. But that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to shit on Assassin's Creed and that. I'm just saying that like not every game should be 80. Not every game can be 80. Not every game's gonna get away with it. If if Donkey Kong was $80, a lot of people wouldn't. I would bet half the people that are gonna get that game wouldn't get that game if it was $80 versus $70.
Yeah.
Like $70's become the norm, but the norms are gonna be thrown out the window if Nintendo keeps doing this bull jive. And I don't know. Yeah. This is probably another podcast for another time, but
for sure.
It sucks. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, not really.
Okay, so we'll pivot so we got one more Nintendo thing, and then we have a non-Nintendo thing, and then we'll wrap up and get out of your hair here. So this one's really small. It's Nintendo spines are a thing of the past, and what we mean by this is the Switch. So the Switch 2's case, I'm not gonna rant, I promise. The banner up top is too damn thick. But Drewby and I are starting to come around on it a little bit, just a smidge, because the spine is the box art, but continuously wrapped from front to back, with the name on the side, and then the little Nintendo Switch 2 logo up top. That looks clean, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very clean. The banner, still too thick, and yes, that's like 4 C's for the record, and for the audio and visual learners. It needs to be 3 C's, triple C's. But anyway, it just needs a little bit. It just needs to be like fine tuned, and it would look fine. But I don't love the case. Nintendo were trying to freaking make me not buy physical, anyways. And just real quick, we'll go back to that last point. There's a reason why we waited to do this podcast, because we wanted a little bit more clarity. Of course, obviously we don't have much clarity, but we have a little bit. And when I say this, it's due to the fact that there at one point people thought that physical games were going to be $90 and digital be $80. And what an asinine thing to believe, first of all. Second of all, $80 is still an asinine thing price to put on something anyways. But anyways, $90 for physical games would have killed physical media, plain and simple. And I don't think Nintendo wants to be the pioneers of killing physical media, considering they're one of the kings of it. But anyways, That's just a little fun little thing that the box art now wraps around. The boxes looks cool for the 3 people that are probably listening that still like physical media. Thank you for being a part of physical media, because physical media needs to exist so that we can't be ripped of our games in the future. And yes, to everyone who's thinking, that's not going to happen, Steam exists. Not everyone is Steam. And speaking of everyone not being Steam, let's go to non-Nintendo news for an all of 2 seconds, because the day after the Nintendo event, South of Midnight reviews dropped. Excited to play that game. Maybe we'll have some more thoughts on that next week. We'll see. We'll see how much we get to play. But I think we both are pretty excited for South of Midnight.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Good. Speaking of another game that we're pretty excited to play is Marathon. Marathon, actually, I'm pretty sure we talked about Marathon the last episode of Casket Minds.
We did.
Which was almost 2 years ago. Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening and watching this time and having a good time with us, and bad time, but that's 2025, so welcome to hell. Marathon has been played by press and by the media. Big names, little names, influencers of some sort, maybe gaming influencers, I suppose, have went to Bungie. They've played Marathon. We've been getting teased like hell about Marathon.
They've got a really cool ARG campaign going on right now, and it's still going on. They're still updating it today. So, which Bungie has a huge track record of doing really cool ARG stuff. They did I Love Bees with Halo 2 or 3. I can't remember which one. They've done a lot of like cool, fun stuff like that before. So seeing them go back to that, and this one being really cool, because like the new Marathon has such a unique and distinct art style.
Mm-hmm.
And so them just fully leaning into that with this ARG campaign, I'm a huge fan of that. So it's been really cool seeing all of this stuff unfold, and it's getting me really excited. You know, Bungie is one of the kings in the FPS space. They know their stuff. They know how to make a great FPS game. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm tired of like every game trying to be an extraction shooter right now. And I get that. But Bungie knows how to make a great FPS game. They have great gameplay. And I think that if they can bring the extraction genre and do more in Marathon to a more casual audience and make the extraction shooter feel accessible and fun, like I'm really excited for that potential. But there's a lot of people I follow on Twitter who have played it, who, you know, are like Halo fans and, you know, are kind of in this hibernation phase with the franchise, and they got to go out and play Marathon, and they're like, we can't say anything yet, but the way that they're, you know, wording their tweets, it sounds like it's going to be a very positive reaction. So I'm pretty excited to see how this all unfolds. And it's rumored by Jeff Grubbs, I think was the one who broke it, that we're going to be getting something big next week for Marathon.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I'm expecting a like gameplay rollout, maybe even a release date by next week, or at the very least this month.
Yeah, I agree. We got started getting teased super heavy this week, especially the last few days. And then, of course, Thursday or Friday, I believe, a lot of people were at Bungie playing it. And I'm very excited to see it. It seems like a very impressive rollout in terms of what they're doing pretty much in every front. And I'm excited. I'm assuming we're going to see some gameplay next week. If only from a trailer, and then have like the everyone else be like, we played this, here's our footage, that kind of ordeal.
For sure.
So I think by the next time we speak to you guys, we will have a ton of things to talk about with Marathon. Hopefully we do, because I think I can speak for Drewby when I say that we're very excited to see what this is and to play this thing. It's it's been a long time coming. So,
and now that they're a PlayStation studio, like, and this being one of those projects that Sony is backing, it'll be really exciting to see what they're cooking up.
Yep. Especially like even like I know some people will be like, well, all their multiplayer stuff's failed. It's like, no, well, that's not exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about like Sony's funding, help fund this thing when Bungie could have been dead by now in terms of not existing. We're exclusively talking about the funding of like being able to fund their vision and help them in that facet.
For sure.
But for this return of Casket Minds, I think that's going to do it for us on this Nintendo Marathon for now and for Drewby. So thank you guys for coming back, listening, watching. Reminder that you can watch our podcast now
on YouTube and Spotify.
On YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah.
Just search up Casket Minds. If you want the URL, it's youtube.com/Casket Minds. Casket Minds on Spotify. If you listen to Apple Podcasts, we're on Apple Podcasts. If you'll do us a favor, share it. Let everyone know that we're back. We're going to be back. We're going to be consistent. We promise. Yeah. And
no super like long 2-year hiatus again. We're here to stay, baby.
We're here. We got more free time. We're going to make time. We're going to make a lot of content. We're very excited for what we're doing. We hope that you are too. Even if no one cares, we care. And that's the important thing. We think that's how content shines, is via passion. And if this episode is nothing but that, we show that we are passionate still about this stuff. Thank you guys so much. Like, share, subscribe, rate us on these platforms. 5 stars helps us a lot. The algorithm loves 5 stars. It loves all this kind of stuff. And until the next time that we speak, be kind to one another. Fuck tariffs. They're stupid. But be excited about the Nintendo Switch 2. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.